heard him, and I'm giving you this, Aubrey. He stood up there and he said in front of a lot of people, we were in the studio.
The stories that we have to tell during a time in music where there were gatekeepers, there were people that owned labels like Puff running things.
You like big hair though. You do like big hair. You like big hair. You like a lot of makeup and all that.
Aubrey O'Day from Danity Kane has come forward with more shocking accusations against Diddy, and it's not looking good for him at all. Aubrey, just like her bandmate Don Richard, is revealing details of mistreatment and abuse, adding even more weight to the ongoing allegations against him. Don Richard recently filed a messy and explosive lawsuit against Diddy, where she claimed he mistreated the Danity Kane girls and subjected them to torturous conditions. She also alleged witnessing him physically assaulting Cassie and other women in public. Now, Aubrey O'Day is claiming that she too was one of those women who experienced mistreatment from Diddy, and she's got long receipts that could land him in serious trouble. Don Richard's lawsuit came out of nowhere, especially since many people thought she was still on good terms with Diddy. After all, she had stayed with his label after Danity Kane broke up and even appeared on his last album, Love, which dropped in September 2023, just weeks before Cassie's lawsuit surfaced. Don had always talked about being fiercely loyal to Diddy, saying he had saved her from a bad contract, which led people to believe that she would always have his back. However, as Don's lawsuit points out, things weren't as perfect as they seemed. She hinted in interviews that there were darker aspects behind the scenes, and many believe she was afraid to speak the full truth due to fear of Diddy's retaliation. And can you blame her? Diddy allegedly has a history of violent behavior, including blowing up Kid Cudi's car and bragging about how he could make people disappear. So it seems Dawn was biding her time until Diddy was vulnerable enough for her to come forward and tell her truth.
Ever since you went independent, do you talk to Diddy?
Not as often as I'd like, but that's the homie forever.
Yeah.
People will never understand that relationship. You know, like, people didn't know that Puff had bought me out of a contract prior to even getting on the show.
Really?
So I had loyalty to that, you know, and that's a respect that I understand that I loved my group, and I know that it wasn't I chose Puff over my group at the time. It was more of when someone does that, where I come from, you got to respect that on a large level. So I gave loyalty to him, and I think I'll never forget that. And my father and my mother, for what we gone through, we'll never forget that. And I think with all his crazy, I look at things like that as loyalty. So I was loyal to him, and I paid my dues back like a businesswoman should.
Right.
Until he said, okay, your dues are paid, and then I left. Not, I'm gonna leave you after you did me something.
And then just...
And a solid and just say, oh, by the way, thank you for buying out my contract, but now I'm gonna go over here. I just never said anything about that.
I kept that contract
I never told anybody. I took all the hate that came with it, that people thought I had didn't choose my group. I just took it. Because it's a loyalty thing for me. It's a respect.
Absolutely.
You know, and I didn't want to get shelved. I didn't want to get like financially and business wise. It just wasn't smart.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pay my dues, so I did, and I always respect him for that.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, it wasn't all perfect. It wasn't all great.
Yeah.
He's exactly what people say he is, but he's also, he gave me a shot. I don't have the story that you have. I have I got out alive.
Yeah.
And I got out with a business. And I don't have no bad stories. That was only support. So if you do good by other people, they'll do good by you.
In her lawsuit, Dawn backs up Cassie's claims by stating that she witnessed Diddy physically abusing Cassie on multiple occasions. She also alleged that Diddy threatened her life when she tried to help Cassie. The lawsuit describes how Diddy would violently assault Cassie, including choking and hitting her with objects, and that when Dawn tried to intervene, he would threaten her, saying things like, "You want to die today. I make people disappear." One of the most disturbing claims is that Diddy punched Cassie in front of celebrities like Ne-Yo and Usher, but they didn't even flinch and just continued eating. According to the lawsuit, this happened at a dinner party in West Hollywood, where Diddy had an argument with Cassie, punched her in the stomach, and left her in visible pain while the other guests carried on as if nothing had happened. Aubrey O'Day has backed up some of these claims and is sharing her own stories of how Diddy allegedly mistreated her and the other members of Danity Kane. She's pointing out that we should have seen the red flags during the chaotic days of making the band. But at the time, reality TV shows were known for being messy and toxic, so people didn't take the behavior as seriously. Aubrey, however, was one of the few who didn't back down from Diddy and clashed with him multiple times, which reportedly led to even harsher treatment for her. Both Aubrey and Dawn's revelations have painted a grim picture of what went on behind the scenes, and the more women come forward, the more pressure is mounting on Diddy. With multiple lawsuits and detailed accusations coming to light, this situation could have serious consequences for him. Aubrey O'Day has refused to stay silent about her experiences with Diddy, and she's revealing even more shocking details about how she and the other members of Danity Kane were allegedly mistreated. According to Aubrey, her clashes with Diddy weren't just about creative differences. He allegedly tried to get her to be one of his girls on the low. When she and others refused, Diddy started treating them poorly and used ironclad NDAs to keep them from speaking up.
Do you want to look like a playboy, playmate? Do you want to look like you?
I'm done with all of that.
No. What do you want to look like, though?
I'll tell you.
What do you want to look like, though?
I'll tell you. I'm not focused on me. I'm focused on what this group should look like and how I should fit in this situation.
You like big hair, though.
I don't
like big hair. You like big hair. You like a lot of makeup and all that.
Actually, I don't. I don't like big hair. I don't like certain makeup. I'm very flexible with what you want to do, and I've worked with everything that you've thrown
I'm not
out.
seeing the flexibility. You gaming me.
Your hair people came in today and they said this is how it needs to be.
You know what I'm talking about. You're pushing your own image, though.
I'm not worried about whether my hair is straight, curly, whatever. I'm not here in a group to have curly, straight, big, makeup, whatever. I'm here in a group to sing with my group, and that is all I care about.
After the breakup of the band, Diddy allegedly continued to exert control over the girls, but Aubrey wasn't about to let him control her. For example, when Diddy gave his former artists their masters back after Cassie's lawsuit, many saw it as a publicity stunt. While Diddy framed it as a move toward reform in the industry, it turns out that he made his artists sign NDAs to prevent them from speaking out about what really happened at Bad Boy Records. Aubrey refused to sign the NDA, which is why she can now freely talk about her experiences.
It's about $800, $900, some in the hundreds, okay? And in order to get that, I have to release him for any claims or wrongdoings or actions prior to the date of the release. I have to sign an NDA that I will never disparage Puff, Bad Boy, Janice Combs, or Justin Combs' music, or EMI, or Sony ever in public. So what's happening is artists, some of them, not all of them, are being given streaming royalties and ownership back over our publishing on songs that we wrote at a time when you know that you have to stream a song 1,000,000 times to make a cent.
Yeah.
Okay? It's hundreds of dollars. And me as somebody that's a girl's girl, I hit everyone in my group and said, absolutely do not take this deal. I can get us a show on Hulu right now.
She also claimed that the masters Diddy gave back were worth far less than he made them out to be, about $800 or $900. Aubrey wasn't fooled and convinced the other girls not to sign the NDA either. Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, backed up her claims. Because Aubrey didn't sign the NDA, she has been able to reveal the truth about how Diddy pitted the girls against each other to maintain control. She claimed he body-shamed them, tried to hook up with them, and became angry when they turned him down.
The stories that we have to tell during a time in music where there were gatekeepers, there were people that owned labels like Puff running things, and the way that the divisions and the divisiveness occurred, and the things that we experienced between each other and us against the system are fucking insane.
Looking back at the show Making the Band, it's clear that Diddy was bullying them right in front of the cameras, but at the time reality TV was so wild that most people didn't realize how toxic the situation was. Now, with Cassie's lawsuit and others piling up, people are starting to see the truth. Allegedly, Diddy's control over how the girls dressed and acted wasn't just about their public image. He was allegedly pimping them out to other men.
All his artists, when he gave them their publishing back. I'm gonna give y'all publishing, but y'all can't talk about Janice Combs, Justin Combs, Sony, Bad Boy, or anything that happened. Y'all can't talk about none of that. But there's some artists that didn't say anything, that didn't sign it, and they able to talk about anything they want to. And I think that's those girls that was, I think Danity Kane. I think a couple of them didn't sign it.
Aubrey also claims that Diddy did horrible things to her, including inappropriate touching and attempts to sexually assault her on multiple occasions. She describes her experience as worse than the other girls because she stood up to him. According to Aubrey, the more she resisted, the more Diddy tried to break her down.
Thing you could imagine why somebody would want to fire somebody.
Can you give us a little?
I wasn't willing to do what was expected of me. Not talent-wise, but in other areas.
Mm-hmm. And were other girls doing?
I was the only one that was in those types of positions. He was the hardest person that you can work for, and it was torture. And not the work part of it, but the other stuff. Mind games, like just all the girls were so divided, and the men and the people running it had their hands in it, moving everything. It's difficult when you're that young to understand your worth as a woman through the men that I was around, and that was very traumatic. I don't think any of us have healed from that. Diddy would be like, you're not hot anymore. Like, what happened? You don't have anything, like, you don't have any curves. You're looking like you're not looking like, I can't get people to think that you're my good looking person.
I heard him, and I'm giving you this, Aubrey. He stood up there and he said in front of a lot of people, we were in the studio, and I said something to him and walked out the studio. He said, yo, I'm gonna drug their ass off and pick them out and pip them out to my nigga. He said, I'm gonna drug them out. I'm gonna get them all on drugs, and I'm gonna pimp their ass out to my nigga. And I was like, there's somebody kids, and walked out.
Fans have been vocal on social media, expressing their support for Aubrey and frustration with Diddy's actions. Many have noted that Aubrey has been speaking out for years, but was dismissed as a bitter woman, and now, with more lawsuits coming forward, the truth is finally coming to light. People are speculating that Aubrey may soon file her own lawsuit against Diddy, with many eager to see justice served. This situation is wild, and as more details emerge, it only gets more intense. What are your thoughts on all this? Let me know in the comments.